journalist I know has venerated Burhan Wani. It is the J&K government that did not want him killed. Who's asking them? Why not?
Why are you not asking them?
I'm asking. I am asking. I've done multiple shows on it, saying, what is going on here? You did not want to kill him, but you're the one saying that. So why is media taking the flak for your positions?
No, so you made a very interesting point about the all-party delegation.
Yes.
Layered to that is an issue that is actually afflicting Indian democracy today. There's almost a perception that the ruling party doesn't want or doesn't care to take the opposition and other parties into its fold. My good friend Derek has just written an article on ndtv.com saying that, regional parties are being left out in the cold. Is this real? And if it is so, how will they solve national problems together? If I don't know if you remember when 2611 happened, it was ironic on Arnab's show where I ranted for about 40 minutes and I said, on that day, Advani and Manmohan Singh and whoever should have been on the same aircraft. Sometimes we don't even have the sense to get the right optics. Where do you think the problem is today at a national political level?
I remember I was doing a fellowship in the United States of America when a hurricane hit New Jersey. I think it was Sandy and parts of New York. The Republican governor of New Jersey, a man called Chris Christie, and Obama did a press conference together on a hurricane. We can't even get these guys to do a press conference together on 2611 in Kashmir. They did one together on a hurricane, right? So that is the problem, that these guys swap roles. When BJP is in opposition and Congress is in power, BJP will say, "Arey, aap to bike hue hain, aap to pro-Pakistan hai, aap ye hain." Then they exchange. Then BJP tries to do something. Then the Congress says the same thing. What will it take for these guys to rise above party politics?
No, so what's happened? Has the quality of our politicians deteriorated? Are we electing street urchins are lovely people. Are we electing thugs and rogues? I mean, many of them are in parliament. Where has the liberal outlook of a Pandit Nehru or a Pilu Modi or even a Ram Manohar Lohia, even an Indira Gandhi?
Yeah.
Indira Gandhi was a true liberal. I mean, she may have been vilified for whatever reasons. But I've always said that history will judge even Manmohan Singh with such glory than he is being judged today. So what has happened to the decent politician in India today?
I'll tell you one thing about Manmohan Singh, and that is not true about the Congress party, and it is certainly not true about the Gandhis. So let's be very clear that Manmohan Singh had great capacity for criticism. I have personally been among the journalists by the end of his tenure, and he did many things wrong. His biggest crime was inaction. But I have personally pilloried him, criticized him, taken his name and written columns and columns. Yet when you meet him,
he's very civil.
He is absolutely unfailingly civil, and that is a Democrat. That is not true for the Gandhis, and it is not true for Mr. Modi. It's not true for either of them.
So are we screwed? Because it's between them. I mean, I don't think Mayawati will ever come to the center. Actually, better not wish for something that might happen.
I actually think the pivot of politics is shifting to the states. We are in a very interesting change in politics. We are seeing the pivot shift to our states.
I would love for Mamata Banerjee to come in as Prime Minister. Because then I want to see the dog and pony show between Arvind Kejriwal and Mamata Banerjee. It'll be a delight to watch.
But the fact is, because the Congress has so abysmally failed to be a challenge to the BJP, the pivot of power and alternative and new politics has shifted to the states. And the chief ministers today are more relevant than ever before in the history of India.
I think that's an excellent point. Let's stay with that. And on a serious note, analyze or crystal gaze, say, the next elections. What do you think is going to happen? My personal view, I think it won't be the BJP back. I don't think they'll come back. Because there's, negativity has an expiry date. And if they continue to keep silent on some of the critical issues, they're scoring self-goals. What next? And remember, India's never predicted a future prime minister. Even Nehru was under doubt, in a manner of speaking. All our prime ministers have been accidental, and some have been real accidents, like Deva Gowda and all, but we won't go there, out of respect. since he's still alive?
I think we are moving towards another phase of khichdi politics or khichdi sarkars. Till a new, I wouldn't, I think a lot will depend on what happens in UP and Punjab. So I would reserve my forecast on the BJP till then. But my gut is that we are moving towards another phase. I won't call it third front politics because that's such a tired old term. But we are moving towards a regional parties driven politics. And how they will come together cohesively, we don't know. Whether that will just be an interim phase, we don't know. But we are seeing an Arvind Kejriwal, for example, if he wins a Punjab, just hypothetically, he might well take Punjab.
Yeah.
So you have this absolutely new political party that comes out of nowhere. And therefore he reminds us that new parties can still yet be born. Why does it have to stop at Kejriwal? There might be another one tomorrow.
So let's stay with Kejriwal. He's not the idiot we think he is. He's a very smart, suave politician. What is his game plan?
To be the national...
You've met him, you know him, he's very fond of you, you'll watch movies every Friday so that he can then review them. No, I'm just joking.
No, but this is like you venerate Burhan Wani. You watch movies with Kejriwal. Kuch bhi bolo. Aajkal kuch bhi chalta hai. Bakwas. Anyway, yes, I do know him.
Can you imagine Times Now will be waiting with its OB van outside every cinema hall?
I do know Arvind. I have interviewed him many times, as I have many other politicians. It's quite clear what his political strategy is. His political strategy is to try and take 1 or 2 states outside of Delhi, at which point he can then position himself on the national stage as the national challenger to Narendra Modi. So if he takes Punjab or does well in Punjab, if he does well in Goa, and these are 2 states where I do think the Aam Aadmi Party should not be written off.
Absolutely.
Right? Then that is his political strategy. It's legitimate right as a politician to do that.
Let's come to a trickier issue, especially within the portals of industry-affiliated chambers. There's also a nexus between the corporate world and the media. The nexus between the corporate world and the politician is long established. Earlier, there were firewalls. Today, those firewalls don't exist. There's almost a desire for media to be fated by industry, industry to be fated by media. What does that signal for us as a society, and where does that leave the 4th pillar in any democracy?
I would actually say the relationship between media and corporates is not as cozy as you suggest. Maybe it is in business journalism, which I am not a practitioner of. But one of the things that disturbs me and this is that we've actually seen journalists cross over to the other side. So where they've been journalists and then suddenly you find they've become spokespeople for industrial groups. So you have to then wonder, what were they doing when they were journalists? But then you could equally say when journalists join politics, you could equally ask the same thing. And we have had journalists joining politics as well, right? So that disturbs me a bit, that, does it mean that you were always biased, whether towards a corporate house that you have now joined or whether towards a political party that you have now joined? There are no easy answers because you can't take away the right of people to change their profession if they so want to. I actually think the real problem is our corporates, with apologies to those of you sitting here, very few speak up against governments.
Correct. Hardly any.
Why is the budget always, no matter what the budget is, why is the budget always 8 on 10?
Yeah.
Nobody wants
visionary. It's a visionary budget.
And the problem is...
Life altering. I don't know whose life it alters, but the same jokers will use the same lines.
But the problem is, the reason that corporates feel the need to do that is because governments, not BJP...
Other than FICCI, of course.
Governments have too much control. Governments have too much control over business. What happened? I'm still waiting for Mr. Modi's less government. Where is the less government? It was minimum government, maximum governance, right?
It is less government. He's the only one working. No one else is allowed to work. It is less government. Poor Sushma Swaraj is running a consumer grievance lost and found cell.
She's a very
as
good
foreign
minister. According to me, the one minister...
If you lose your wallet in Warsaw, just tweet and you'll find it.
But Sohail, she's the one minister who puts her head down, no frills, no fancy, no rhetoric, and she does her work. Maybe that's the only space she's been given in this dispensation, right? But she does her work.
Actually, she's doing a very, very good
job. She does her work. Let's please give her her due.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. They're all wicked people, you know. They've actually asked me to provoke you today. Some of them are having a very bad headache. Okay, let's switch to something to my mind which is nationally critical. You very rightly talked about the lack of dissent in public discourse.
Yeah.
Do you think, and you know, I don't want to get into the Smriti versus Javadekar and all that issues.
Oh, I thought Smriti versus me.
No, see, you're bloody willing to fight with everyone, so is Smriti. I mean, put the two of you in an akhara, we don't need Narsingh Yadav. We'll just send the two of you to the Olympics for wrestling. I mean, and she might do really well, but that's another matter. No, let's come to the critical issue. Do you think our academia, the quality of academia, the quality of academics, of scholarship, that is suffering? And I want you to comment because you were there in the arena, as it were, in JNU. And I really want your comments on these two issues because, again, it was perniciously portrayed. If you remember, I said in my opening speech at the Telegraph debate saying they were students, they didn't need to go to jail and all. You know, I mean, we do baat ka batangad in this country. What actually is happening on our campuses? Because that's going to set the tonality of what will happen when they become, you know, citizens in public life.
You know, Arun Jaitley once told me this story, which has actually not come out, but I hope he won't mind my sharing it, that when he was a student, he once went and sat in the vice chancellor's chair or the school, college principal's chair, and he refused to get up because he was in that, you know, we are young and we are going to be rebellious, right? Now, let's remember when we were 18, 17, 19, 20. What was being a student about? That you didn't think too much about what you said. You had a lot of sort of young adult rage. You wanted to change the world. You wanted to push the envelope. You wanted to push the boundary, right? I am not saying that the slogans that were raised on the JNU campus, if by the way they were raised, my problem at that time was that certain channels edited Kanhaiya Kumar's speech where he's saying Bhook se azadi, Jativad se azadi, and you have made them, you've removed the intervals in sentences and you made it Bharat se azadi, which he never said. There were others who said it, but you arrested him. There's another point. Doesn't your action at JNU look farcical given what's happened in Kashmir? I'd said then, you want to send these boys to jail, how many Kashmiris will you send to jail? They just came out for a killed terrorist, no. What are you going to do? You're going to arrest every boy and send them to jail. This is, I had said to Smriti then, who said, Meri Bharat Mata ki toheen insult hui hai. And I said, where is the face of the state as Mata? Where is the parenting of the state? And I would like to see the state not at war with its students. I really am disturbed by JNU, by Hyderabad, by these turmoil on campuses.
Students bring governments down.
Students can certainly bring governments down.
They bring political establishments down. Only students.
Yeah.
No, but tell me, let's explore this. And this is, to my mind, something that the chamber that, you know, people like you who run these bodies must also explore. Has the intellectual, philosophical discourse that we all grew up on, you know, we read Engels, we read Chaucer, we read Dickens, not because it was forced upon us. We read Shakespeare, we understood the malleable, the Machiavellian, you know, designs behind some of the characters. Do you believe in this, as you said, this smartphone era, we have given short shrift to scholarship, to a philosophical discussion? You know, I don't see people reading Seneca. I'm not saying you must read Seneca, but I don't see people reading anything.
We have become scared of ideas. The biggest crisis in India today is the fear of a new thought. Now, I'll give you my own example. I do not agree with most things Arundhati Roy says. I don't agree with it. But I quite enjoy reading her. She's a voice. She's a voice in the larger argument. She's a voice that puts checks and balances on our system. So I would read everybody from the extreme left to the extreme right, as long as they limit their interventions to speech, books, writing thoughts, and they do not take the law into their own hands. Why should we be so scared of confronting an idea? We are a proud democracy. We should embrace all ideas and then make up our own mind. We can say we disagree with this that Arundhati said, we disagree with this that Barkha has said. This is my position. I culled out what I liked from here, I culled out what I liked from here, I rejected the rest. But we have become a country that is terrorized by ideas.
You know, it's a great point. I mean, Trupti and Vinitha. If I were you, I mean, you know, I'm much older, so forgive the bluntness. If I were you, I would go beyond events such as these. You know, these are damn good for a Saturday afternoon. You all will go home, you know, do whatever the hell you have to do after that. You will not plant the seeds for tomorrow's thought. You will plant the seeds for today's actions. If I were you, through, you know, your membership, I would ask every lady here, if she has a child, to get the child to do a 900-word essay on my idea for tomorrow's India.
Great idea.
And I would publish that as a book. It could be visuals. Someone might want to express their ideas in art. Someone might say, to hell with it, I will put together a 3-minute clip. You know, I will use my smartphone to do a 3-minute clip. You should then have this year after year. And you must be willing to compare how the definition of my India and which ideas then become more critical and less critical with the passage of time. You know, no one is, so, you know, thought and discussion and discourse has gone out of the window.
Yeah.
And Barkha's point about, you know, Sunil Khildani wrote The Idea of India many, many years ago. But there is no one India and there can never be one absolute idea.
Exactly.
And if you read anyone, whether you read Tagore, whether you read Bankim, whether you read Mahashweta Devi, who was I mean, I don't know how many of you even remembered that she was the spirit behind most of the liberal, middle of the path thinking. And her work with tribals far outweighs any other person's body of work in India. But we don't know that because they're not people on this thing. Which brings me to another point. India, to my mind, and this is our failing, we have become fascinated with cricket, with Bollywood, with politicians. We are not respecting other domains. Personally, I'm deeply, deeply distressed that the Indian art scenario, classical music as we knew it, has completely disappeared. Art has become a pretentious, you know, a society thing, you know, where you have wine and cheese nonsense. But no one is, we've forgotten that we had an IPTA amongst us. We had the progressives amongst us. We've forgotten the Habib Tanveers, the Badal Sarkars, the Ritik Ghotoks in cinema. All of that is gone. Now we've got idiots like Pailaj Lairani and that other joker, whatever his name is, Chauhan, whatever he played. Yeah, Gajendra. He sounds like an idiot. He looks like a bigger idiot. But these are the people who are now running Indian cinema. So where do you think and why do you think television, and I'm not flattering you, people like you, people who are, you know, sensible, perennially in love with Aruna, why do you guys not take up these issues seriously? On a serious note, for instance, I have to say, and not because she's young, we haven't even had a conversation. Yesterday, I was riveted to NDTV. There's a fantastic documentary on Mahashweta Devi. No one talks about it. Because it's not important. No one's throwing stones at each other.
That's right.
So where do you think we've slipped up, or how do you think television can help alter that modicum of discourse?
I think some of us have to get out of this obsession with shouting matches, party politics. You know, I did an interview with an author called Siddharth Mukherjee.
Yes, which I thought was brilliant. Have any of you read Siddharth Mukherjee?
Please pick up his book on the gene.
He's outstanding, outstanding.
And he is an absolutely brilliant
I
person.
love that thing.
And I did a 40-minute interview with him on prime time. And people said to me, oh, who'll watch it? I said, you know, it's okay if 20 people watched it.
But people were riveted.
But people watched it. And the fascinating discovery was, when I did it, I said, chalo, I've done an esoteric thing today. The amount of feedback I got. A few days later, I interviewed Amitav Ghosh. The amount of
I
feedback.
saw that.
The amount of feedback you get to these, thoda hatke. So one has to be willing to get off the trodden path. And I think I'm certainly determined that I am not going to be a Me Too version of any other anchor. We have to bring back some intelligent conversation. Maybe we can't all have mass popularity. It's okay. Sometimes it's okay to have a content for a thinking Indian.
So, on that note, where we could mourn the demise of the thinking Indian, it's now 12:40. I was told 45 minutes, which we've crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course we'll go on till 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because my lunch is only at 1:30. Where will I kill my time? I'm just joking. So we can now open it out to a Q&A.
Yeah.
So here's what I suggest.